Multiliteracy's pedagogical framework support ELD students in Year 3 to build reading fluency across key learning areas. Multiliteracy's theory, developed by the New London Group in 1996, fundamentally challenged how we understand literacy in classrooms. Multiliteracy argues that the meaning is made through multiple modes all working together because the students in our classrooms are not culturally and linguistically same. The traditional print-only approach to literacy is not beneficial. EALD, English as an additional language or dialect, refers to students for whom English is not their first or home language. These students carry linguistic and cultural resources into the classroom, but may face a significant demand that they must acquire English at the same time as they are expected to learn through it. In Year 3, the pressure increases as curriculum texts become more academic and complex. Reading fluency is the critical bridge between decoding and comprehension. When students read fluently, their attentive shifts from working out words to understanding meaning. For ELD students, building this bridge is more complex because fluency must be developed in a language still being acquired. This is precisely why multiliteracy's approach through multimodal text offers such a powerful and necessary response. The theoretical foundation for this research is the Multiliteracies Framework, first developed by the New London Group in 1996. This framework argues that literacy teaching must go beyond simply teaching students to read and write in standard English. Instead, it recognizes that classrooms today are culturally diverse and that students communicate and make meaning in different ways, not just through print. The multiliteracies theory is the idea that meaning is made through five modes working together: linguistic, visual, spatial, gestural, and audio. All five are important for meaning making, and effective literacy pedagogy should draw on all of them. For EALD students who are still learning English, they can use images, diagrams, colors, and digital resources to help them understand rather than relying on written text alone. Five key scholarly resources shaped this research. The New London Group 1996 article established multiliteracies as a pedagogical framework, arguing that literacy must account for literature and linguistic diversity and that classrooms must become sites of multiple meaning making practices, not just print literacy. Their central finding was that traditional literacy pedagogy fails to reflect the real communicating demands of a diverse, digitally connected world. Cummins analyzed approximately 400 psychological assessments and teacher referral forms of English language learners from a Canadian school system. He found that while conversational fluency develops within 1 or 2 years, academic language proficiency takes 5 to 7 years on an average to reach grade level norms. This explains why Year 3 ELD students who appear conversationally fluent still struggle significantly with academic reading tasks. O'Brien and Wallet assessed 105 bilingual children across primary grades 3, 4, and 5 using standardized measures of reading fluency, phonological awareness, and oral language proficiency. They found that fluent text reading did not typically emerge until grade 4 and that oral language proficiency was the strongest predictor of reading comprehension, confirming that grade 3 is important but still developing stage for bilingual reading fluency. Alfred and Jetnikoff examined how 4 senior English teachers approached critical literacy with ELD learners. They found that multimodal design and drawing on learner diversity were significantly underused across all 4 classrooms. Finally, Woods, Kettle, and Campbell conducted a literature review for Education Services Australia, synthesizing research on ELD students in Australian primary schools in 2022. Their key findings was that ELD students entering school in years 3 to 5 still require 2 to 4 additional years to reach academic parity with same age English speaking peers, confirming that year 3 is critical and under-supported stage of ELD learning development. Woods, Kettle, and Campbell's review reinforces that fluency must be developed alongside vocabulary comprehension in oral language and not as an isolated skill. Alford and Jetnikoff's findings make this clear and emphasize multimodal pedagogy must be deliberately planned and theoretically informed. Cummins found that academic language proficiency takes 5 to 7 years on an average to reach grade level norms. O'Brien and Wallet research recommend that effective ELD literacy instruction does not begin from what students cannot do, it begins from what already they know. Alford and Jetnikoff conducted a case study examining how 4 senior English teachers approach critical literacy with EALD learners in Australian classrooms. Their research found that across all 4 classrooms, multimodal design was consistently underused. Without explicit teaching with multiliteracies, teachers naturally adapt print-centered teaching methods. This is a gap between ELD students' need and what mainstream literacy instruction provide. Multimodal pedagogy must be deliberately and intentionally planned. Text selection must include visual, digital, multimodal resources alongside print. Lesson planning must incorporate specific language mode objectives. Teachers also require professional learning in multiliteracies theory to implement multimodal design with consistency. This research connects directly and meaningfully to two Australian professional standards for teachers, Standard 2.5 and 1.3. Standard 2.5 asks teachers to know and understand literacy and numeracy teaching strategies and their application across teaching areas. It means recognizing that fluency instruction cannot be limited to dedicated English literacy. It must be included across science, has mathematics, and every other key learning area. A Year 3 science lesson with its vocabulary and text structure is also a literacy lesson for ELD student building fluency. Planning with that understanding is what Standard 2.5 looks like in action. Cummins' research showed that ELD students need 5 to 7 years to develop academic language proficiency. Standard 1.3 asks teachers to demonstrate knowledge of strategies that are responsive to students from diverse backgrounds. ELD students are not a uniform group with literacy deficit, but they bring linguistic capabilities, meaning making practices, and cultural knowledge that mainstream literacy instruction may not include. Multiliteracy's pedagogy is a direct evidence informed response to Standard 1.3. Reflecting on this research has prompted 4 specific changes I intend to make my teaching practice, all grounded in the evidence and connected to curriculum planning through ACARA. The first change is to embed literacy intentionally across all key learning areas. ACARA identifies literacy as a general capability in every area of the curriculum, and the research made it clear what to be included for ELD students. It means designing multimodal tasks in different subjects that build fluency in content rich, meaningful context rather than treating literacy as something that only happens during English. The second change is to be genuinely deliberate about multimodal resource selection, combine images, diagrams, videos, and digital text with print. Another change is to adjust my expectations around the timeline of academic language and fluency growth. Knowing that development may take up to 7 years, I want to plan cumulatively rather than expecting short term interventions to produce rapid results. I now understand my ELD students' linguistic and cultural knowledge not as a challenge to accommodate, but as a genuine pedagogical resource that should be actively shape my planning, my text selection, my classroom environment, and my assessment practice. Before this research, I understood that ELD students needed support but did not fully understand why traditional print based reading instruction was not enough for them. Cummins' analysis shows that even students who appear fluent in English can take 5 to 7 years to develop the academic language proficiency needed to read fluently across curriculum areas. O'Brien and Wallet showed that grade 3 is critical and still developing stage for reading fluency, and that oral language is the strongest predictor of reading comprehension. This tells me that building fluency is not just about reading more text, it requires embedding oral language activities deliberately into every lesson. I will use multiliteracy's learning by design model to structure my teaching. Learning by design organizes instruction through 4 knowledge processes: experiencing, conceptualizing, analyzing, and applying. For ELD students, this means I'll begin with connecting new texts and concepts to students' existing cultural knowledge before moving into academic English. I will embed literacy instruction deliberately across all key learning areas, not just English. ACARA recognizes literacy as a general capability across all curriculum areas, and I will intend to plan with that in mind. I'll plan multimodal reading tasks that include written text with visual supports, diagrams, digital resources, and oral language activities. This is the practical classroom application of the multiliteracies framework, giving ELD students multiple entry points into meaning making. I will set long term learning goals for fluency development, and I'll need to plan patiently and not measure ELD students against short term benchmarks designed for monolingual English speaking students. This is an important change because without these changes, my regular teaching practice will be print centered, with research shows it's not adequate. I'll benefit as English students will have multiple ways to access meaning and increase engagement. I'll monitor process through ongoing formative assessments, oral reading observations, and comprehension checks. I'll also observe students' engagement and willingness to participate in reading tasks as an indicator of growing confidence and fluency. Westworld, Armstrong, and Barton reinforce that monitoring reading progress through a structured assessment to intervention approach include both word recognition and comprehension is essential for identifying what is working and what needs to change.